Business over drinks. Business over drinks. This is Dave and Terng. This is business over drinks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Over Drinks. My name is Terng and I'm dialing in from Singapore.
Good evening. My name is David, calling in from Brisbane, Australia. Post-lockdown, how you doing, Terng?
Not too bad, man. First podcast recording of 2021. I hope this comes out first instead of the others that we're going to do. But yeah, first podcast recording. You excited?
Podcast recording. Yeah, I'm very excited. I was very excited at the start of 2020. I was thinking, this is going to be a great year. I'm feeling the exact same this year as well. I can't wait for all the 100% good things that are going to happen this year.
Yeah, nothing bad has happened yet. I saw that the US were having a party in the capital. That was pretty good. Coronavirus seems to be doing pretty well in certain countries.
Yeah, we just came from a lockdown here in Brisbane. 3-day lockdown because of a stronger strain of coronavirus from the UK.
Oh, yeah, I saw that because you guys are weak. Cool.
Okay. No comment. No comment.
No, man, it's a serious thing. I'm glad that you guys are all right and everybody's good, and I don't want to be canceled for that. So I'm glad everybody's okay.
Whoa. Is that a jab on cancel culture?
Man, I hate cancel culture. I definitely know I'm going to get in trouble for something I said 5 years before about some random thing that that has no relevance right now, but I said it, so I'm going to get in trouble.
You're not famous enough, but one day you will be.
Well, I didn't say that. I didn't say that I was going to get canceled in life. I just said someone's going to come at me with like a baseball bat or something because I said something 5 years ago.
probably just even from this podcast. Probably just from this podcast.
Yeah.
When you called Australia weak.
That's true. No, I called you weak specifically.
No, you didn't.
I like to clarify. I was calling David weak. Dave's very weak as a person. He can barely lift his arm.
Australia was weak. You said Australia was weak. Anyway, what are you drinking?
I am drinking one of the last strong zeros I have in the house because I'm trying to cut back a little bit on the alcohol because I went a little bit too hard at the end of the year. It hasn't worked so far.
Yeah, do you know if you keep drinking low-carb beer, you're going to lose weight? You'll actually lose weight.
This isn't beer, and I don't know if this is low-carb. It says strong
and that was a
zero.
lie, by the way. I don't know. I have no idea if low-carb makes you lose weight.
Man, don't say stuff like that. It's going to get us in trouble.
I was trying to be sarcastic.
Man, your voice, everything you say sounds sarcastic. So when you are being sarcastic, we can't tell. Everything sounds the same.
No.
Yeah, monotonous, dude. Just like a robot. Anyway, man, before we get on this, because you and I actually haven't spoken in a while, so this is like going to be a catch-up session plus a bitching session. So maybe you want to, maybe shall we start with like the best memories you had from Business Over Drinks in 2020?
Oh, before we just in case someone starts to drift off, so we're going to split this podcast up into two quick segments. One is best parts of our podcast in 2020. The second half is the biggest fuck-ups we've made in our professional careers and maybe life. Let's see where we go.
Oh, Dave's got
hopefully you can learn from them.
A lot about life.
Hopefully you can learn from them. Hopefully you won't. So you can have interesting stories as well. Anyway, favorite podcast memories. Top of my head was when we had a guest in who was so drunk he doesn't even remember recording the podcast. So we didn't air it, obviously. We've deleted it. We didn't share it with anyone. But that was pretty fun. It was fun chatting to him. If only he remembered what we talked about.
It was a really good podcast. That was the worst part. He said some really interesting things. He wasn't just like blabbering. He was really giving us
it was really
insight.
Insightful stuff, right?
Yeah, and it was very honest as well. I think a little bit too honest, which is why he asked us not to publish that. But yeah, it was really good. Man, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I thought that was like one of the best podcasts we did. And then he's like, don't air it. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, so one of my favorite podcast moments was when we spoke to my friend Yin, but it was Dave's highlight. We were talking about the most surprising things that happened to us, when we came to live in Singapore and like different parts about living in another country. And Dave shared a story about how his flatmate in Singapore used to hire helpers from other countries, end up falling in love with them, impregnating them, and then buying them houses and stuff in their home countries. I've never seen any. There were three of us in that conversation. It was only one person talking because both of us had our mouth open the whole time. We go back. We'll put the link. We'll put the podcast link in the show notes, but you should just go and see our faces. We'll try and put the timestamp as well, where you can go listen to it. It's the best.
If you want if you're listening now, you can go to Business Over Drinks on YouTube. I think is it a highlighted video?
Oh yeah, it's one of the clips that we have. It's on our Facebook or on YouTube as well. We'll put the link in there.
Yeah, the link in there. The topic is should you work overseas or something like that. Anyway, look, he'd always hang out with the helpers, which is nothing wrong with that. No, actually, in all reality, it was a pretty traumatic experience. Very traumatic.
I just really like how you're gonna carry on with that, man. I thought we kind of put that topic to rest. It's surprised everybody's ever heard it. I got a lot of feedback saying like, "What the hell's wrong with your friend?" I'm like, I don't know.
With me?
Yeah,
I'm just a messenger.
Yeah, but you just kept on sharing that story repeatedly, even though both of us weren't saying a thing. We're just staring at you. And you could see us staring at you.
It was a significant moment in my life. It was a significant moment that I learned nothing from.
Sounds like most moments in life, man.
So another favorite memory was our first podcast recording. I mean, Terng was, for those who are listening, Terng was the one who, this was initially his idea to start a podcast. And it took me a bit of convincing, but I thought, why not? And we had no equipment. We did no research on podcasting. So we thought, maybe all you need to do is record a podcast, is just record it on a laptop together, and that's it. And drink a lot of alcohol. So we drink. We bought how many? 2 bottles of gin.
Yeah. Yin, our friend who recorded another podcast, who was there at the very beginning as well.
Yeah, we invited him. He was like a booty call. We called him after like a bottle. We downed a bottle,
and then he showed up with another bottle.
And afterwards, like, yeah, we think this sounds pretty good. I think this sounds like a pretty good podcast. And we listened to it a few weeks later. I was like, this is shit. This is the worst.
The best part about recording a podcast was at one point, Dave, or it wasn't me, I forget. One of us got up in the middle of the podcast because it was just audio. There was no video. Got up in the middle of the podcast and left the room to get ice. We didn't stop recording. We were just having a good time. So we just talked and recorded stuff. And one of us left the room for a solid, like 1 minute 15 of just silence and the other person looking at their phone. And we left that in. That was the best part.
Maybe you should release this episode.
I don't want it, man. It's so embarrassing. Like I still have it. I'm pretty sure I still have it somewhere. I don't want to release it, man.
I feel we should release it. Well, when we get enough listeners, we should just release it. And that's the only thing. That's the very last thing we do.
You're talking about like a murder-suicide pact or something. What's wrong with you? It's the last thing we ever do.
What the hell?
Dude, what the hell, man?
Dark.
Yeah, you just went like that's the last thing we ever do. What? That was dark.
As a podcast, like that'll be a good finale. And yes, murder-suicide.
Okay, cool. That's horrible, but okay. We had some really good parts, man. I think we had one of the highlights for me, and this is more of a general thing, right? Is we had some really cool guests on as well. Like, so not only like great business people like Matt Stallone, Ariane, we had Amanda, Lyndon, Daniel, quite a few other people as well. Not Sydney as well from PopTax. So we had like some really cool guests on, which I think was very surprising for me because I just thought we're going to get our friends on because we're not going to get anybody else to come on this podcast. So we're just going to get friends. We're just going to bitch and moan and no one's going to listen to this podcast. But I think we're starting to go up the rankings now in Singapore, at least for business podcasts.
I'm really humbled by our guests. We had some really amazing, as you said, Matt Stallone, one of the top protein suppliers, guys in Australia, going overseas, Ariane, the top tailor in Queensland. So many good guests. So many great guests.
You forgot her name.
No, I didn't.
What's the name?
Claire
man?
Shank. Claire Shank. Shout out to Claire.
Yeah, no, Claire was awesome, man. Claire was hilarious.
Yeah.
I actually didn't expect Claire to be that funny. She's hilarious. Loved it. I
It
mean,
was.
let's not forget your two business partners as well. So we had Phil
Yep.
and Joe. So Phil
Mm.
Cristaldi and Joe Fox.
Yep.
Awesome guests. I think to this date, Phil's podcast, Phil's episode was probably our funniest
Mm.
in the sense that Phil genuinely is a fan of the podcast and laughs and listens to it. So he fit right in almost immediately. He could be another host of the podcast easily.
Shout out to Phil.
Yeah.
He it's actually one of our most downloaded episodes.
Definitely.
So
And also one of our most viewed clips as well. So Phil's discussion about when his partners left. I think me asking Phil who he regretted most with you or Joe when you guys left, and his face there, it was epic. I wish I just should have taken screen grabs of that. And Phil's face of like, oh, it's horror, then laughter, and then realization I'm joking. It was hilarious. Joe's podcast was one of the most insightful that I've seen because Joe wasn't drinking. Joe was drinking kombucha because he had a PT session. So he was actually very insightful and I think thoughtful because we were getting a bit sloshed, I think, during that interview.
oh, you were. I never get sloshed.
You got drunk a few times during the podcast, man.
Never in my life, dude.
I've seen you, man. You said stuff as well when we had to take it out.
Oh, I take out. For those who don't know, I do the editing. I have it would probably be triple like each episode just for Terng's weird rants. I have to cut them all out.
Oh, my weird, hateful
It'll
rants
just be
about
hurtful.
things.
People get upset.
Just really offensive rants against a bunch of different things as well. Oh, but we both shat on like these self-help gurus and stuff like that a little bit. Amazon sellers.
Sometimes.
Yeah, we both went off. We both went off on those guys. You're less into like talking down on Gary Vaynerchuk or like Tony Robbins. I don't mind. I'll go off on them. But the Amazon sellers come with dropshippers. We both went off on them for sure.
I made memes about him. Check him out on Instagram.
Yeah, business over
All right,
drinks.
shall we talk about our fuck ups?
For sure, man. Do you want me to start with that one?
Yeah, you'd be an expert at that.
Yeah, so everyone always just says that I'm the mean one and I always bully Dave. And I just want you guys to realize that he says really hurtful things to me all the time, but he edits them out of the podcast. So just want everyone to know that. Anywho, coming back to the podcast. So one of the biggest fuck ups I had in my life was, I think, choosing the wrong business partner when I first started my business. And what I did was I went with the flow because I knew the person for a long time. I thought we were friends and we went into it. And honestly, the biggest fuck up was I didn't really listen to other people telling me that I should be careful. I didn't listen to myself and the little warning signs that said, hey, this guy's not really, doesn't have the best track record, right? Like you can't have so many people who, he constantly says that his business partners were like bad and stuff, but usually if there's a common theme that he's the common theme and the central figure and everything, usually means that there might be something wrong there. So I fucked up that part. I mean, I still came out okay, but I learned an expensive and rather irritating lesson working with that guy.
So, you know what's really funny though? My internet cut out and he had no idea. I was actually logged out for half of your story and I just came back in just then. But pretending like I listened to the whole thing, what would you advise?
You could have just not mentioned that, man.
I'm trying to be professional.
Well done.
So how, based on what happened then, what would you advise our listeners to do in a similar situation?
Choose your co-founders wisely. Don't go with friends unless your friend's an awesome person, you're with like a great business person and a valuable member to your team. go with try and take away emotion from your choice. That's honestly what I would do.
Would you be afraid of partnering with a friend and ruining the friendship?
Yes and no. So I think I've actually partnered on a couple of stuff. So like where I've started a travel platform, Travel Wanderlust, with one of my friends. I call him friend, but I'm going to send him his podcast because I just want to tell him that he's a bit of an asshole. I mean,
I've been there. You said it to his face.
Yeah, every multiple times, man. Like Dave, you and I started business over drinks. Like we have this, so I've known you for years.
Yeah,
I'm not against it. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting a business venture with someone who can add value to it. But I think trying to start something because you're friends and not because it makes sense is the wrong thing to do. So that shouldn't be the primary goal. It can be a friend. I don't really mind. That doesn't really bother me at all.
Yep.
What about you? What's one of the biggest fuck ups you made, man?
One biggest fuck ups I made. So there's a quick one before I do the main one. Quick one is I said a joke in a boardroom once. Like everyone was saying, you know when you're in a boardroom and people start taking turns saying jokes. I forgot.
No, man. What is this? Is this like some sort of weird Australian thing that I'm unaware of? Something?
Well, there are people laugh in Singapore. Like in a boardroom, like before you do the actual meeting, people take turns. Like they say, there's a bit of banter. So there's a bit of banter.
Obviously, you haven't been to many boardrooms in Singapore, man. There's no such thing. Banter's not even a word in Singapore. You know what they do in meetings? They just talk about work. And then they just repeat that same question over and over again. It still takes a long time. But there's no banter. Like, oh, hey, how are you? They're like, oh, good, work.
Oh man, I'd hate to work for your company, man. I've been to your meeting. Your meeting is no one even looks at each other. You're all just not even talking. You're actually working. It's not even a meeting. It's just people working.
No, because I told my staff if they look me in the eye, then they have to do more work. So they won't look me in the eye anymore. It's like no. I mean we talk. We have good conversations. Honestly, our meetings are basically just to make sure that we know each other exists.
I actually like the structure of your meetings. For those who don't know, so Terng, those who haven't listened to other episodes, Terng's structure is like very mobile. You don't have a head office, and you meet with. Is it once a week? You meet with your employees in Singapore, once a week, and you guys just hammer it out in a cafe. I think it's an awesome structure, and it's great for the staff who like that kind of lifestyle. Anyway, this one there's banter, right? So in a normal boardroom that I'm used to, people say jokes. People are allowed to say jokes, and then when it was my turn, everyone just stopped laughing. It just stopped. Everyone was laughing really hard, and then when I said a line, everyone completely stopped. That was a really humiliating experience. I forgot what the joke I said was. It must have been terrible. Anyway, to the main fuck up. It's in the same company. I was writing because I was the communications guy for the national network of all their distributors, franchises, and stuff. And I was responsible for the newsletter. And I didn't spell check 2 words, and then for some reason they combined to spell the word cunt, like C-U-N-T. And one of the guys rang me up as soon as this national newsletter went out. Hey, it was a sentence like, you are a C-U-N-T, something like that. And then I went, oh. Yeah, I didn't last in that company very long.
So hold on. It was an autocorrect, or did you just use the word C-U-N-T?
Yeah, like it was either. I think it could have been a Freudian slip. Maybe I was just angry at the people I was writing the newsletter to.
Yeah, man. I think that sounds like the fact that you're not sure it happens just sounds like you really wanted it to happen. But you're just like, oh no, it was an accident. No, but you're just like, yeah, come on, man. So like I've had big fuck ups like that, man. Like I've done really stupid things in my career. I don't call this a fuck up, but this is a fuck up to everyone else. I think I honestly feel like I would do the same thing, but I had a boss who was, the kindest way to describe this guy was an idiot.
Okay.
A more honest way to describe this guy was
Say, what's his full name?
no. So he was like high, like really well educated. Like his CV. If you had his CV, you're legit sorted out, right, in life.
Hmm.
But if you speak to him, you find out he's got nothing beyond his qualifications. Like he doesn't know anything about business. He doesn't know anything about marketing. He doesn't know anything about technology, but he claims to be an expert in everything. Like a minute's conversation, be like, you don't know anything. I'm talking to you. You don't know anything. He's what you call a dumb investor as well. So like people just take his money and stuff. We had a conversation once where he was blaming me for an issue because apparently something like the client hadn't signed a document and like confirmed everything. And he was blaming me because I had, after a long flight, I had sent him all the information and then I'd gone to bed because I hadn't slept for like 36 hours. I still sent him everything. I made sure I sent him everything with clear instructions what to do. And I even told him that, hey, when I land, you'll get it. So I'll be landing quite late. Just make sure you're ready for it. He refused to admit that he just forgot about it. He made a big fuss. And then I pointed out that it was actually his fault because he should have, first of all, the client would have signed it if he showed up for the meeting, which he didn't show up for. The other part was, and this was the best part, I think he tried to threaten me. Something like, hey, you're just going to fire me or something like that.
Yep.
And I said, yeah, go for it because you're a fucking idiot.
Did you say those words?
Yeah. I've called him a fucking idiot to his face. This is not the only time I've done something like that as well.
Yeah.
The others I don't consider mistakes as well because first of all, they're not mistakes because nothing bad happened to me. In those cases, this case, like I already knew I was kind of on the way out. I was definitely on the way out after I called him a fucking idiot. And I'll still do it again. I really think I'd do it again. If I was in the same position, I'd do it again. Because
that probably wasn't a mistake then.
Everyone I've ever told the story to, including my colleagues who supported me during that point, were like, yeah, that's a mistake, man. You shouldn't have done that. I'm like, but is it though? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, but is it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, gun to your head, is it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Like they're like 6 times it's a mistake.
But why was it bad? Burnt bridge. You burnt a bridge.
Well, no, I mean, like it kind of accelerated my way out of the company. It's also, I mean, you really shouldn't call your boss a fucking idiot, even if and then everybody will call everyone a fuck. I'm sure half my team will call me that. I'm very sure half my team will call me that. Right. And like in some cases, maybe you're not. Maybe your staff doesn't quite understand the decisions you make because you're thinking about the entirety of the company and they're thinking about themselves. Right. So
that's actually a big insecurity I had when I had a team. I was like, do these guys hate my guts?
They did, man. They did. Like, I can tell you for sure that they did. Like, no one liked you personally, just as a person, not being a boss, just as a person, they didn't like you.
As a human being on this planet.
Yeah, it was just like, I wish Dave wasn't here. Just wish Dave wasn't here. In existence.
Wish you never born. A more serious fuck up for me was, I should have throughout my whole life, and sometimes even now, is I should have listened to my intuition more than other people, and I should have spent time perfecting, learning that intuition, and knowing whether it's just fear telling me to do something or if it's genuinely something from my gut. And lately, I've been following it more often and rejecting other things, and it's made me a much happier person. So that's one big thing. One big, I wouldn't call it a fuck up, but something I'm improving on going forward is listening to my intuition more, because it usually leads me to a path that I'm happier with, even if it could be a mistake. It's at least something I'm happier in doing, rather than just looking for short-term like cash injections or short-term joys. I'm actually thinking, is this actually good for me in the long term, or is this something I actually genuinely want or am passionate about? And because of that, I've been more confident in rejecting certain projects, but happier in the choices I make. You laughing? Why, man?
Sorry. No, dude, I appreciate it. I was just thinking when you said you were like trying to reject short-term pleasures and short-term joys. I was just think all I could think
Oh,
about was just the most horrible stuff ever. And I apologize. I apologize. I didn't mean to mess up your
you
flow.
wouldn't if this was recorded. You wouldn't apologize. You
Yeah,
bring
no,
up
I wouldn't.
examples.
I would go. I would go in hot. I was going hard at you for sure.
Oh, I'm not even gonna ask.
No, man, no, don't worry about it. Like, no, I appreciate and I understand where you're coming from. But then, I mean, I agree with you in that sense that you should definitely do things that you enjoy and that you love, and that makes you happy. But I also think that there are people who are going to use that same thing to just be lazy.
Yep.
So that's my concern, right? Because I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying. But then I feel a lot of people go like, oh, this goes against my happiness, doing a little bit of work, but I want you to pay me regardless.
That's why you need to, I think, need to develop, and I need to do this as well, develop the skill of knowing what is just fear telling you this isn't what you should be doing. So fear of, responsibility, accountability versus this is what I should be doing. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to go ahead and do it and do the scary things and things like that. Sometimes fear gets in the way and you think, oh, my gut's telling me no, but really it's just you being afraid of making.
I mean, you've published a couple of books, right? You've actually done a lot of stuff that like a lot of people have never been able to. So I think that's really impressive. I think maybe where fear comes in would be for you to commit to, certain things like, spending money on just normal stuff, buying me a present or something. Just something like that, man. Just normal stuff. Just buy me a present, man. Stuff like that, dude.
Man, I haven't got a present from you ever.
Yes, you have. I bought a couple of your books.
That's not a present. That's just
that's the best present I've ever given anyone, man. Because usually what they get, their present is my presence. Okay, that's it. Oh my god! Okay, cut that podcast. I regret saying that. That's a really douchey thing to say. I regret saying it immediately. Oh man! Oh, that's the worst.
Anyway, any more examples from you? I'm not going to cut that out, by the way.
Oh, lovely. A few, I guess. Well, they all kind of boil down to my inability to handle authority. Or like to deal with. I say handle because I also know that it's partially my fault. I should be able to deal with shit better, but I can't manage to. I can't deal with stupidity when it comes from a level of authority. Because as I've gotten older, I've realized that what I assumed was stupidity was people actually understanding more about P&Ls and understanding about brand value and understanding about the broader picture of business. But then there are a lot of cases where it was just people trying to protect themselves, and like they didn't care who fell in their way, right? I guess my biggest fuck up was I didn't adapt enough within a corporate culture. So any job that I went to, I always felt like I was the outsider because I would just kind of say what's on my mind. And I value that and I appreciate that, but I also know that's not normal. Like that's not common. No one's gonna value that in a big business. No one's gonna value that even in a small business. Like I'm like, oh, that's great, right? But then like if someone goes like, oh, I want this, I want to do that. I'm like, listen, that's great. I'm listening to you for now, but you kind of got to do the work regardless of whatever you say. And I wish I kind of knew that when I was younger, because I fought against everybody and I didn't always win. So like that if I could take anything back, it would be if I could say that was a fuck up, because I think I would call that a fuck up. I would call that a fuck up that maybe held me back from starting my own business by about 2-3 years.
But would it have just escalated because you were like an outcast? You would have been able to. It probably would have sped up the process of you saying, "No, I'm just going to do things on my own because I can't relate to anyone."
No, man, because I think I would have definitely have done stuff on my own. I think that yes, while it might have sped up some stuff, it actually held me back from learning, because even if I'd been really comfortable in a business, I also knew that I was very uncomfortable by the fact that I wasn't doing my own thing. So I would have left regardless. So the timetable on me leaving was based purely on, do I know enough? Because I plan I'm very aggressive and I take a lot of risks, but I'm also not stupid. So I knew that I mean, if I could have at 26, I'd have been like, hey, see you guys, I'm out, I'm going to start my own business. But I knew nothing. I didn't know enough to do anything. Right. So I think me basically stunting my own growth as a consultant, as a person, as an expert in whatever I need to know, kind of hurt me a little bit.
Yep.
What about you, man? You got one more to share with us?
Yeah, one last thing is
as Dave finishes another bottle of wine within 24 hours, as per his usual. One a day, boys, one a day. Carry on, Dave.
That was your advice. You made me this way.
Man, that just sounds really harsh.
One last thing is really like what has Steve Jobs when he came back to Apple, right? They had, was it over 100 or hundreds of products, and he cut them down to only a handful of products, and he simplifies everything. And I feel like in my life, up to now, I've been saying yes to a lot of things, or just trying to get involved in too many things and not really mastering or being passionate or being obsessive about just one or a small number of things. And so one thing I'm working on this year is just cleaning up. So you probably know this term, like I barely message people. I'm cutting out a lot of stuff in my life and just focusing on a handful of things and trying to make it so that they're great rather than being average at a multitude of, and that just reduces a lot of stress in my life as well, and makes me more focused and driven. So I can just keep thinking about the small number of things. And so in terms of clients, for example, I've had to turn down some larger paid jobs, but just keeping a handful at bay while I work on some projects I'm really passionate about and that I can really master and perfect.
Why don't you tell us some of these projects, man, that's currently going on?
Nah, man. Well, one project is this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I will definitely be working on this. So watch your space, guys. Another is my next book. So watch that space as well. Follow me on Instagram at Dean Blake Author to find out more about what's coming.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've learned, we've both kind of grown. I mean, people who've listened to our podcast regularly. So like your mom, my mom, that's about it.
Oh, we don't even listen to it.
Yeah, we don't listen to it. I don't even know what we talk about, man. It's like once it's done, it's done. Like we've seen the growth of ourselves, right? As we talk about things that we've learned, things that we've understood.
Not really, but yes, okay.
I mean, I've grown, but then Dave, you've
I've physically gotten. It's strange.
Yeah, you've shrunk in every single sense.
Oh, that's hurtful.
That's
what my fiance told me.
Physically got smaller, man. It's just like
that's what my fiance tells me every morning.
Not morning, man. She tells me that all the time. But yeah, okay.
As soon as she gets home, she get text. Sorry, keep going. I'm gonna cry while you keep going.
I can't go on, man. I can't go on. No, but I think we've learned. I think we've learned a lot. I think we've actually grown as podcast hosts, as business people over time. I think the fact that you're, I wouldn't say scaling down, but really focusing your efforts and your time is really good for you. I mean, it's terrible for everybody else, but it's really good for you. So I think the fact that you're doing it just for yourself, so just as a benefit to you, is really cool.
Logie, have you grown?
Oh, man, I've become more patient with people. Like every time you fuck up on this podcast, I'll just go like, "That's okay, that's Dave." Because I would normally, if you're sitting right next to me, I'll just punch you in the face really hard, just knock you out. It's like, I'm gonna hit you. Oddly enough, COVID-19 made me grow up very quickly. Like if you want to deal with adversity, go through a pandemic as a business owner. That's real adversity there. Like, oh no, I gotta stay at home. Like, oh no, I gotta pay a bunch of people. Oh no, our revenue is down to almost zero. Oh no, I have no new business. I learned so much. I grew from that, man. Like I grew sadder. I gained weight. Just hate everybody. But I learned a lot of stuff.
Don't blame the pandemic on your weight gain. You had weight problems before that.
I mean, damn you. Damn you. So I want to point out how mean Dave is on this podcast. Because too many people have been telling me, you're so mean to your friend.
Yeah, people told me that you're a bully. You're a cyber bully.
I'm not. I bully you in person. I bully you right to your face. You know I do. I'm not a cyber bully. I don't like this anonymous bullying. I just like right to your face. I'm like, look at my face while I tell you things about yourself. Do you want to tell people what's coming up? Like what's coming up for Business Over Drinks in 2021?
We're getting some pretty big, like I guess they're getting bigger and bigger. We're really humbled by this, and people are approaching us now, which is great.
Yeah.
What else is coming up in 2021? Hopefully, I can go back to Singapore. We can do a recording there.
Yeah.
You get some proper episode. Maybe we'll do like a what's that one where they eat hot wings, but instead of hot wings, we'll just drink alcohol.
Just aggressively drink alcohol. Yeah, okay. Just guys, we'll do another episode where we just kind of air it. We'll be like, this was the worst idea ever.
What else I have no idea what else we have planned, man.
So it's still in the works, but we're planning some really exciting guests, like Dave mentioned, but also some guests that are a little bit surprising. So like guests that are going to be from different walks of life, that are going to be really doing. I mean, I wouldn't say controversial because I'm not trying to like stir up anything, but it's more like we want to shed light, like have real conversations with people that are like don't follow the traditional path.
We're gonna have a baby. We're gonna have a baby in one episode.
Yeah, man, what the hell? No, we're not gonna have a baby in one of the episodes. We really want to shed light on some of the business owners that we both know, that we both work with, that we both see, and we both really enjoy. So we're going to try and get more really cool entrepreneurs, really cool artists, creatives.
And athletes too. We have some athletes in the pipeline.
Oh, yeah. We got some really big ones coming on, man. It's going to be really cool. So we're really excited about that. Just FYI, we're looking for sponsors as well. So that's going to be a thing. Right now, getting on the ground floor. And yeah, man, it's quite exciting. What about you? Are you excited?
Not really. But that's how it is.
Thanks, man.
Just kidding. I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
You just killed the vibe about everything. You just killed the vibe of this entire podcast. Thanks, man.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just search for Business Over Drinks. And don't forget to hit us up. Send us an email. Give us your feedback. We'd love to keep improving, keep getting better. If
you want to send us money, please just send us money. I mean, there's no reason for it. We just want money. Send it to me. Make sure it's addressed to me. Only me. Okay, cool. Yeah, but send it to me so I will hand it over to him later.